Hoof listeners, what's going on? Welcome to the Thursday night show as the Buccaneers travel to Buffalo to play the Bills. Kind of going off script here, like normally we do our podcast a little later, but we are early because of the game. Obviously, we want to be ready. We want to be watching the game with the family.
That's right.
Anthony representing for us, got the
Woot
the Buffalo
woot!
Bills suit
It's game
on.
day, baby. Gotta wear the suit. Gotta
Got
wear the
to,
suit. Got the Superman, Buffalo Bills logo underneath,
yeah.
just in case. Gotta bust it out. The
Yeah, the
pants
Bills
on
have
too.
tons of primetime games coming up, so I think you're gonna have to remember to watch that.
Yeah. Get it dry cleaned like a couple times during the season for sure.
Yeah,
Especially after going to the game, because that's when it gets, more whatever it is, sweaty, even under the
sweaty. Yes,
layers, or,
yes,
wet, or,
yeah.
from
I
snow,
remember
rain.
many times being at the Bills backers bar and you're sweating from every pore in your body.
Yeah,
For the
that is
Bills.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, screaming at the top of my lungs, sweating from everywhere. Yep. So this suit has been through a lot, but let me tell you, it survived. It's done well.
Nice, good quality. That's always good, right? So yeah, how we feeling? Tampa Bay coming to town. You
Yeah,
know, don't really know a lot about this team. I do know this: running game sucks. Their receivers are still pretty good, and their defense has been playing above
their
average.
defense has
They're
been
hanging
playing
in
well.
there.
Yeah,
Baker's hanging in there for them. They're right in the mix. They did have a tough loss versus Atlanta last week, but it was a close game, and they're very much in the mix for the division in the NFC South.
right, right. Which is strange to say because most of us wrote them off for dead, and their defense has really been what has been consistent with them. And I think that at it's looked well against the opponents they faced so far. I don't think they've played an offense as potentially good as the Buffalo Bills. I know that the Bills have had their struggles on offense, but you're talking about, weapons and things that Josh Allen can do that not a lot of quarterbacks can do, and not a lot of opponents of the Bucks have shown, right? Now I'll give them credit. Again, defensively, is Vita Vea playing in this game? I didn't see the latest update, but he was questionable last I saw.
Did see
Um,
that with a sore groin.
that
Didn't
could be
practice
that
yesterday.
could be a difference on that defense. He's really a leader on that defense, up front. And then, you got the familiar safety in Winfield, right? The Bills know that name well, and he's playing very, very well for them. So they do have the potential to do things like take the ball away and make big plays, but they also have given up a lot of plays this year and made a lot of mistakes. And I think that's where the Bills have to attack them. Not be afraid to throw the ball into tight coverage, to attack where there might be defenders, because they've been prone to making mistakes as well and giving up big plays as well. To me, though, the focus has to be on the Bills' offense doing what they need to do. I said this a little bit in our last episode that the Bills need to use this as their true get right game. Try whatever you need to, pull out all the stops. This is do or die. This is must win. You've got to get back on track, and this is your chance to do it before you start going through the gauntlet of the schedule. So get back, get right. I don't care how good their defense plays. I don't care who's all pro or whatever back there. You got to use this as your get right game. It's at home, right? If you lose to the Bucks, my God, is it going to be a huge embarrassment, especially
Yeah,
after losing the Patriots. And first of all, we also have to state, I think it's obvious, but if you make Baker Mayfield look good, Bills defense, I swear to freaking God, you're all fired. I will come fire you myself. You can go back to coaching high school football, because if you make Baker Mayfield look good, you suck, all right? And you don't belong in the NFL. That guy is not worth anything, okay? He's been playing very safe lately, right? Not trying to make big mistakes, but not making big plays, dinking donking, staying under, I think he was under 200 yards against the Falcons, who have a pretty good defense, as we know. He's had a couple of big games in the beginning of the season against inferior opponents, but he's definitely come back down to earth, and the defense cannot let him, just get by. And I don't know what that means for them, but in coverage, are pulling out all the stops now. I just came through that Josh Norman is going to be active for this game. I mean, that doesn't excite me by any means, but it certainly shocks me a little bit.
Yeah, we're just
above.
talking about how they brought in Josh Norman. We thought it was maybe to coach up Kyer Elam,
Yeah,
help out the room a little bit, but the fact that he may see the field is a little
yeah,
Yeah.
they're gonna show he's gonna Josh Norman. I mean, I that's not great news there. But I expect
Yeah,
obviously the majority is gonna be with Dane Jackson as the number
right,
2.
and
So
Benford for sure.
yeah, Benford's gonna be the one for sure. So I mean, we likely won't see much of Josh Norman, but the fact that he's active is just a little strange to me. And Andy Isabella as well, right? So that's another name that's like, huh? They brought him up. Okay. What's he going to do? Is he just going to be the return guy or special teams? Or are they going to get him a few snaps and see, like I said before, maybe this is the guy who has the chemistry and is clicking with Allen and can be some answer for what the Bills offense needs to do in tight coverage. I'm hoping for a big game out of Kincaid at tight end now that Knox is on IR. And he's going to play a bigger role. So I'm hoping he can be one of the answers. I'm hoping the run game is established and Cook has another big game, both passing and running. Not so much on the blocking as we saw he messed up a lot on. So yeah, I mean it has to be balanced for the Bills offense. They have to maintain control no matter how well the opposing defense is playing. Right, you just have to fight through and show you're the better team. And then on defense, I mean, last week you made Mac Jones look good in what people were leaving him for dead. Whereas Baker, people are like, oh, well, maybe he's decent enough to be a starter still. You cannot do the same thing. Please, dear God. And if you do, you've earned my personal disrespect. And that's saying something. I don't give a shit, right? Do not make him look good. And if you do, damn it, you're gonna have hell to pay from me. And don't get me
You're
wrong.
gonna get yelled at.
Those receivers are going to catch
Online.
balls. Those receivers are going to catch balls. Don't
Well,
get me
sure,
wrong.
but I think the difference
They're
between the
good guys.
Patriots and the Buccaneers have not been able to run the football this year.
Yes.
So there is no play action game, right? No one's scared of their rushing attack. And I think why Mac Jones was so good last week is because they set up the run, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of play action.
Yeah. And it seemed like the
getting rid of the ball quick.
The receivers on those short routes, getting the ball out quick. That's what Mac Jones does best. We played right into that.
He has to.
Yeah, we played right into that for them. Whereas, Baker, don't get me wrong, he's got two great wide receivers out there. So they're gonna get their catches and yards too. I'm not expecting a shutout by any means, but you can't make it look easy for Baker Mayfield, right? You got to make it look like, okay, they made a few good plays. They're going to get that, right, against anybody. So,
and he's having a decent season. I mean, he's 19th in yardage. We did have the bye week. There's only a handful of quarterbacks ahead of him with a bye week. That's Geno Smith, Justin Herbert, and C.J. Stroud. He's had 8 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 1 game-winning drive. I mean, this is what Baker is, right? And I think he's playing into his role a little bit this year. He's not trying too hard, but he's also moving the football, right? Because they can't run, it is all Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. And I think Baker's doing a good job managing that situation. You think it'd be worse without a running game. You know what I mean?
Yes. And Ed Oliver's supposed to be back for this game. It's looking like anyway, not official, but he had 2 limited practices. And like I said, the Bills did not activate a defensive lineman. They got what's his name, the wide receiver instead. So interesting, Isabella. So we'll see how that works out. It should mean that Oliver is starting and expected to play the full game. They're not worried about him because they didn't activate Eli Anku, who just came back, or Kendall Vickers, who they had come up last week. So that should be big implications in this game for Ed Oliver. And God knows it's night and day with him in there and out of there.
Sure.
Even though it's not looked as good without Daquan Jones next to him. Without both of them, you might as well drive a Mack truck through the middle of the offense, it looked like. So, or the middle of the defense. So, yeah.
Right. It's
looking very much looking forward to having him back.
The other defensive tackles can eat, blockers up. Like Jordan Phillips, a big body. Tim Settle's a big body, right? But nobody can do what Ed Oliver does, and that's make plays. If he gets one-on-one, he's so fast and shifty, and he's actually small, which works to his advantage.
Pressure, gets the tackles, stops
right,
the run.
I think
all of it.
It's hard to match that. That's the missing piece. Daquan Jones, you can kind of get some of that back with the other guys, but there's only one Ed Oliver on this team. So I think that's the bigger piece for sure. But yeah, Tampa Bay 31st in rushing, The only team worse is Cincinnati. Both teams have been on bye week. That definitely plays a factor. Um, most teams haven't had a bye week yet, so that's a little
Yeah,
bit.
but
But I do know before the buys they were still like 26,
right,
right?
right.
So,
They just haven't established a good number one running back, right? And the guys
mhm,
they have there, I mean, Keyshawn Vaughn is still getting touches, so that's
right.
it's been trying to find the rhythm there. They have the Sean Tucker from Syracuse, but he's been ineffective and
Mhm.
inactive a few games, hasn't been able to find a rhythm either. So interesting mix of guys there, but nobody commanding and taking over and saying, okay, this is the guy you want to get the ball on third and short or whatever. So that gives me confidence. Like you said, make them one dimensional, completely shut down the run, rely on Baker, and Baker will make mistakes, especially against our defense, which is very good at taking the
Yeah.
ball away.
He
So
did have an
not,
interception last week with 3 minutes left. It was
mhm,
kinda key
mhm.
interception for the game, so and it
Yeah,
wasn't a pretty like, it
big
wasn't
play
a
Baker.
bounce or anything like that. It was a pretty bad decision in a key moment.
Yeah, he's
But
not good
again,
in those
watch out
moments.
for the deep shots. I think Mike Evans had one over the top last week.
Right.
I mean, that's something you gotta pay attention to. He's
Hmm, hmm.
still a top receiver in the league. He is a
Yeah.
mismatch nightmare because of the big body and mix of speed, right? Um,
And Godwin's next to him, that even if you choose to cover, double cover, whatever, you still got a guy who can get
yeah,
open. So
sure. Yeah, Godwin good too, but, I know Godwin was on the injury report. Not sure what,
I don't know. I don't know
uh,
either if he's
extent
active
of
or
that.
not. He was still questionable. I think he had a full practice though,
And I do believe it's a neck
before
injury,
this.
right? So that's a little more serious than
Hmm.
most. But yeah, something to pay attention to. And again, you can't read too much into the injury report because on these short weeks,
There's not
they
much to
basically
go
just
off. Yeah.
they're just resting, right? They don't really do full practices, it seems like. So some of that going on as well. Well, let's flip over to the Bills. Okay, we talked about the Bucks offense, talked about the Bills defense a little bit. Bills offense versus the Tampa Bay
Mm.
defense. What do we got to see? Right, haven't had a lot of time to come up with anything new to experiment. Um, so what do the Bills do here? I mean, you mentioned run the ball. James Cook, right, getting a pretty good yards per
Everything.
attempt average. I think key him up, and I expect double digit targets for Kincaid. I think that
Hmm.
started heating up a little bit last week, so I think that's
Caught everything
something
thrown
you
his
can go
way.
to.
You literally can't ask for more than that, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
uh,
and we beat it up in our last show as well. Is you got to get Gabe Davis involved. I know he's struggling or whatever it is. He's not getting open, but you got to find a way to get somebody else involved in the
yes,
pass game.
yes, agreed. And who that Shakir has been getting more snaps, more plays, it seems. Um, Obviously, they called up Isabella. I don't think he's going to see a majority or like suddenly be the guy. They might try him for a couple just to see what happens.
Could be a
But
kick returner too, right? He's got return skills to a point.
correct. Yes, right. He's likely going to be that mostly. And you've also got the fact that 12 personnel is going to be less likely in this game. So
Mhm.
11 means you get 3 receivers on the field. Maybe that means more playing time for the other guys that we haven't been getting involved as
Right.
much, right?
Yeah, Quentin Morris out, Dawson Knox out. Dawson Knox headed to IR, so he'll be out
Mhm.
for 4 weeks minimum. So
Yeah.
yeah, getting a little thin. So it's good thing they drafted a first round tight end, right?
It
It's
seems that
time. He should be getting up to speed now. If drafted high, the kid's got unique skills, and has had time to work on the blocking and things like that. So I think it's it'll be fun to watch him play in that inline position and tight end slot.
yeah. So I'm interested to see what the snap count ends up for those wide receivers, right? I hope they all get a little bit of action in terms of what you can see on the field, who's the one being effective, getting open, even if that doesn't mean they're getting catches and attempts, just being able to have that on tape and say, okay, this is who's working it the best and who's building that chemistry with Allen, um, you know, and producing on the field. Because Hardy, everybody who's on the offense, the wide receivers, beyond Diggs, has not had a chance to truly show what they can do, right? Other than Gabe Davis, who is what he is, and we knew that coming into the season. To me, nothing's changed there in my mind, and maybe he is the one to step up. But it's really beyond that. Who's going to be? What are those other guys capable of? Who's going to step up? Who's going to show something? Who's going to get the opportunities both in snap count and in targets? So yeah, that's mainly what I'm looking for in this one. Taking away, regardless of what happens, that will be a takeaway from this game for sure. What we know, the offense has to change. We know that Sean McDermott and Josh Allen and Dorsey all were not happy with the offensive output and sat down in the few days that they had to say, what are we going to change and how are we going to make this better? Right? That was their focus this week, whether they admit it or not. And hopefully they came up with a more comprehensive game plan idea, whatever it may be. Maybe it's throwing the game plan out the window, take those 12 plays and toss them out the window. We talked about it in the last show too, that there's a lot of answers for why the offense isn't working. It's not one dimensional thing, but in this game, you really have to see what works. And hopefully whatever they do does work. Maybe it is scrapping the game plan, no 12 scripted plays, just go out there and play football and see what happens,
Yeah.
And maybe that works.
One thing they could tighten up on is the Patriots, their blitz packages were giving Josh problems all day, right? He's running around all over the place.
Yeah.
You're watching our linemen get smoked. We just can't have that. The Patriots are second. They have the second highest blitz percentage. So they blitz about 42% of the time. Tampa Bay's close. They're fourth most at 38.6%. So, that's something you can learn from. You can expect a lot of cover zero from Tampa Bay at times. And hopefully that's something that they've paid attention to. Give Josh a little more time, or let's get a little more check downs, right? Let's dial up something a little shorter just in case. Give Josh kind of that safety blanket, which I think was missing from last week against the Patriots.
Yeah, and again, if Vita Vea's out, which I haven't heard an official update, but if he's out, that affects that ability to get to the quarterback for them. So hopefully we'll see. But their defense is still, going to call those plays. And we saw, again, the Patriots do it with their backup guys. So it can be done. The offensive line needs to play better, just flat out, right? Josh Allen had a guy in his face every play, and no quarterback is going to do well in that situation. So, hopefully the offensive line steps up so that, Josh Allen can execute the plays that he calls, and he has to do better too. Obviously, there's a lot to blame up there, but just has to get the offense on track. That's what it comes down to. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you run the ball. We're going to decide to run the ball every play. If that's what works and that's what gets the chemistry flowing, great. But I doubt that's the case because you have Josh Allen, right? So likely it's about balance. We've heard that a lot. I'm just done with the scripted answers, and I want to see it action on the field at this point, right? And hopefully Josh Allen enjoys himself, has fun out there. I want to see him get revved up. I want to see him celebrating touchdowns. I don't want to see him be melancholy, Josh, right?
It's funny,
even if things are going well or bad.
Yeah,
I don't care if it's a shootout, right? It's a close game. Josh Allen needs to be that guy with the energy.
Yeah, you're not allowed to be the person that's like, all the Bills last year where Josh was running all over the place and making plays. He's got to do less. He's got to do less. Now this year, he's got to do more. He's got to do more. Don't be that person, right? Stick to one or the other. Certainly, I think Josh could do more. But again, I think he can learn to play in the pocket and still be effective, right? Still, they've had great games with him just playing from the pocket. Right? Let's just get back to execution, right? Whatever that means.
Yes.
I don't think he needs to jump over people, and since the Jacksonville game, the defense has been doing a great job containing Josh, right? So that's a lot of the reason you're not seeing him run as much. I don't think it's because he's choosing not to. Those lanes are being filled, right? You got to find another way to beat them. They're focusing on Diggs, and they're making sure Josh stays in the pocket, and there's really no one else to turn to. That's what you got to see. Who's stepping up for this team? Is it going to be Kincaid? Is it going to be Gabe Davis, Hardy? I mean, we need someone else to step up and get some space, right? And make this easier for Josh. Real quick, looks like Chris Godwin is going to play. Baker Mayfield was questionable. He's also playing. Still questionable on Vita Vea. No updates for him. So it looks like he'll probably be a game time decision. But yeah, that's huge if he can't go. He has a groin issue. So depending on the severity, I would assume he would go. Because the Bucs are 3-3, coming off a tough loss. They kind of need this one, right?
They do. And like you said, they're in it for the division right now. That whole division, as kind of expected, the NFC South a little weak. So they have a chance there. And the wild card is wide open in the NFC. So they desperately want to stay above board, stay above 500 as well. They've already had their bye, so they're 3-3 coming into this game. Yeah, so it's certainly a big game for them too. Don't get me wrong, you're going to get their best, and you've got to. That's even more reason why you've got to put your foot down and say, even at their best, we know we're a better team, and we're going to show it every play. Right? Again, I'm not expecting a shutout. I don't know what you have for final score, but I'm thinking somewhere in the range of like 31-16, and I'd be pretty content.
Okay, so you're back to the old Bill. Been saying this every week. Oh, the Bills are going to win by 3 scores because of what we saw from weeks 2 through 4, right? When they averaged like 40 points a game. But it's been a while now, right? We've gone through 3 games where the Bills offense has struggled. So I think it's going to be a lot closer. I'm going 25-20 Bills. They win a tight one, and maybe it comes down to the last drive like we've seen in the previous weeks, but Tampa Bay doesn't get it done this time. So I will take Tampa with the points here.
There you go. Yeah, because 9.5, that's tough. Yeah, so I'm taking, obviously, Buffalo with the 9.5. That line has moved a lot this week, by the way. It started around 7.5, then it went to 8.5. Now it's 9.5. So
interesting.
Bills
wonder what the insider information is. Has someone got the flu or something?
It usually means people are betting, taking the money is going toward Buffalo. That's why that line would shift up.
Well, I mean, and Buffalo's really hard to pick. They got to be the hardest team to pick.
Yeah, because they haven't done well against the spread this year.
You just don't know what you're going to get. We know what they're capable of, and we've seen them turn it on at times during games when they need it, right? The back-to-back touchdown drives in the fourth quarter last week versus New England where they take the lead. But then they're cold. There's no medium, right? It's always hot or cold, right? And that's just what they've been the last, 3 or 4 weeks. When they're hot, they're one of the best teams in the league. When they're cold, everyone starts doubting them and saying, the world's on fire and, Josh needs help and all this stuff. But you don't hear that stuff out of Cincinnati, which is kind of interesting. They're 3-3. They're at the bottom of their division, but nobody's panicking about them. Kind of interesting.
That's true. That is very true. I don't know why. You're right. Because they have the built-in excuse of Burrow's injury, and then T. Higgins went down.
It's kind of quiet this year,
Yeah, but Bills have had a lot of major injuries as well, so it's not
right. And I think a lot of that's Josh Allen was in the MVP conversation after weeks 2 through 4 was phenomenal football, right?
2 player of the weeks, so
right, and then the Super Bowl stuff started popping up again, and huge disappointment just 1 week later at Jacksonville, right? So. That's just what it is, and the Bills always seem to be a hot media topic. I'm not sure it's a popularity is because they have so many primetime games this year.
I think it's because our fans we're all very interactive.
Well, they're also really fun. Like Josh Allen's so fun to watch.
Oh yeah,
right. But yeah, I'd like to hear more about Cincinnati. Maybe we have to bring on someone from the Cincinnati area podcast. Yeah, right. Something like that.
We could do that before the Bengals game.
It might be going. The alarms might be sounding. We're just not hearing it.
Right. See what the attitude really is of the fan base of the media there.
Yes, because it's kind of quiet over there. It seems like. All right, here we go. So we have all the games lined up. We're gonna go through them, and I'll get you ready for Sunday. A lot of great matchups, starting with the Minnesota Vikings at the Green Bay Packers. Minnesota's -1.5 at Green Bay.
This is another one that shifted. Wow. Yeah, I mean, Minnesota was +1. I actually bet it when it was +1 earlier in the week. And yeah, I love, obviously, right? My brother called me the other day because I picked Minnesota to beat San Francisco, and he didn't believe me. I had it in my picks, and he said, what is it about Minnesota? Why do you love them? Honestly, last year they were my Super Bowl pick. We all know the fans gave me more pushback than anybody. The Minnesota fans were like, oh, don't get our hopes up. They end up being one of the best teams record-wise in the NFC before, losing in the playoffs, disappointingly. And this year, I feel like they're just the most disrespected team when it comes to the lines, the betting lines. Minnesota, Green Bay is one of the worst teams in the NFC now.
And then Green Bay, I picked them to have a much better record than they do now at this point. But we expected more from Jordan Love. We all knew it came down to him.
Again, maybe, so week two, maybe this line makes sense then. This is week 7. We know who these teams are. Minnesota continues to win without their best player in Justin Jefferson. They find a way to win, and they beat one of the best teams in the NFL last week at home, but still they beat them They beat the San Francisco 49ers. Now you're telling me Green Bay is suddenly going to be favored in the beginning of the week and now basically a pick 'em against Minnesota? That's disrespectful. Minnesota, led by Kirk Cousins, is a much better offensive team than the Green Bay Packers. They should be favored in this game by much more than this. This line should be about 6 in my mind. A touchdown. -6, Minnesota should be. And I bet when it was +1. So that is a steal for me. This is definitely a game where I'm taking the Vikings. Again, one of, if not the most disrespected team when it comes to setting the betting line by Vegas this year. I don't know why, but I'm going to continue to take the bets while they're there because I think it's a solid pick.
Yeah, and we keep saying if Aaron Jones comes back, Green Bay has something, but he just hasn't got back yet.
What does getting back mean?
Hasn't got back to his normal
exactly,
self. Right?
Exactly. Even if he comes back and plays a full game, that doesn't mean he's going to be playing 100%, back to his normal self.
So I'll take Minnesota as well on that one. All right, Atlanta Falcons at the Tennessee Titans. Atlanta's -2.5 at Tennessee. A lot of talk about Will Levis getting the start. Again, Mike Vrabel said, well, we don't really know. But looks like the young guy will get the start here. So who you take?
Did they say Levis or Willis? I thought
they said it's going to be competition. They're both going to play, is what Vrabel said. And they said they weren't sure who was going to start.
I thought they had stated, at least the reports I saw initially, were that Malik Willis was going to be the starter.
But again, there was that weird thing of, Willis will start.
But then he won't. Levis
will play. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gamesmanship, right? We'll see what ends up happening. Either way, I don't like Tennessee's chances in that situation, playing a rookie quarterback or, a young quarterback who is not established himself. And obviously Tennessee is in more of a fire sale mode. They still have Derrick Henry, who's dangerous and will score points. But Atlanta, their defense, as we've said, is playing very consistent, very well. And I think that's what helps carry them to the victory here. Their offense just has to do enough to beat Tennessee, who has been more vulnerable. So I expect this game to be close, but I would take Atlanta within the 3 points. So I'll take Atlanta -2.5.
Yeah, I'll take Atlanta too. Drake London starting to get some production. Kyle Pitts had a few nice catches last week. Bijan Robinson didn't even play, and they still get the win. So I'll go Atlanta. I think they have a lot more depth.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the LA Rams at the Dallas Cowboys. Rams are +6.5 at Dallas.
Yeah, this was a tough one for me because I've been a fan of the Rams and what they've continued to do. They let me down last week against Pittsburgh. This game is in Dallas, which to me makes a little bit of a difference in Dallas's favor. I'm taking Dallas to win the game, but I'll take the Rams with the 6.5 just because I think they'll want to respond to what happened last week and get that offense going a little better. So yeah, I'll take the Rams +6.5, but Dallas to win.
I think I'm going to take Dallas at home just because, Micah Parsons is going to give, the Rams all kinds of problems, right? They don't have the depth on their team to withhold this Dallas defense. So I'm taking Dallas by 10. All right. New Orleans Saints at the Indianapolis Colts. New Orleans are -1 at Indianapolis. And this Colts team is pretty scrappy, right? They've been in most games this year.
They went down to the wire, should have beat the Browns this week. But I still think that the Saints just need to find the right momentum on offense, right? They haven't been clicking quite yet. They've got a lot of great pieces. I think they're going to be able to exploit Indy a little better than the Browns did. And New Orleans also has a good defense themselves. So give me the Saints -1 in this one. I think it'll be, I think the Saints will handle the game pretty well. They're not going to let Indy stay close beyond the first quarter.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take the Colts at home. Just because, again, they've been in all these close games. I think they finally get one. Jonathan Taylor back, he's full go all the time now. So I think his game's going to start to get better as the season goes on. And we know they can run the football, right? They got a great offensive line there. So I think they can be productive with that, right? So I think they shock the Saints here a little bit and get a close win.
There you go.
All right. No home field advantage here, but the Jets are playing the Giants.
Giants home game, apparently. But yeah. Yes.
Jets -3 at the Giants.
Oh, man. This was another one. Like, if you had tickets to this game in the preseason, man, you thought, wow, this is going to be one of the games of the year. And here we are in week 8. Or what week is it? Week 8? Week 8. Yeah, week 8. And it's a little more embarrassing than people thought, right? But it's still a tough game to pick. The Giants doing better on offense, looking a little more productive, got a big win last week. But the Jets defense is really strong still. I don't trust the Jets offense pretty much at all, but their defense is really strong, so I'm going to give them the edge. Even though Tyrod isn't really one to throw away the ball, I'm assuming he's still going to play if Daniel Jones isn't ready to go yet. So I'm going to take the Jets -3, even though, yeah, this game, I'm not really betting this game because I don't trust either team, but if I'm picking, I'm going to pick the Jets -3.
Yeah, the New Jersey Showdown, Tyrod Taylor versus Zach Wilson. Should be good.
Exactly.
Yeah,
In the preseason. That's what everybody's
like you
up
said,
for.
you start looking around and going, okay, well, what else do these teams have? Both can run the ball, right? Pretty effectively. I think the Jets probably have the edge there. But again, defense. Like we know this Jets defense is elite. I said it. If the offense was better, I think this Jets defense would be talked about as one of the best in the league right now. But because the offense can't sustain drives, the Jets defensive stats take a hit. But I think the Jets defense can hold off the Giants and lock Tyrod Taylor up. So I'm taking Jets. Almost said at home. Jets at home.
Away at home.
Away at home. Anyway, AFC East showdown. New England Patriots coming off a big win at the Miami Dolphins, coming off a tough loss in Philly. New England +9.5 at Miami. Huge line here.
Yeah, this what surprised me the most was the line is 9.5 here. I'm taking New England with the points. I mean, +9.5. You're talking about a team that went down to the wire in week 1 with Miami, and is now, they were reeling, but they found their momentum versus the Bills. They've got to be feeling better about themselves now, and at least figured out what they do well and how to do it, right? There's some question on Tyreek Hill and the injury he's dealing with. So I still expect Miami to win. I would love if they lose. Obviously, as Bills fans, we want Miami to lose this game. But I think 9.5 is a little bit too much, too egregious for this one. So give me New England +9.5, but Miami to win.
Yeah, I'm going to take New England with the points as well, because I know they're going to keep the Dolphins offense off the field. That's going to be their goal. I think it's going to be boring for them because they've been so high flying and exciting. And I think that's going to make them cold and kill the momentum there. So if New England could put together a good game plan like they did last week, I would not be shocked if they win this game, but I think Miami can pull it off as a close one, but I'll take New England with the points.
Agreed. I wouldn't be shocked if they end up winning either, but not going to pick them just yet.
All right. Jaguars at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Jacksonville -2.5 at Pittsburgh. And this is surprisingly a good game at this point in the season. We all thought Jacksonville would have a good season just because of the weak division. But the Steelers, right there in it, if they could win this one, they would be in the mix to win the AFC North.
Yes, yeah. I went to the dentist this morning actually for just a checkup, and my hygienist is going to this game, and she said her family's Steelers fans, and they're excited to go down for this game. But then I told her, unfortunately, I picked Jacksonville in this game because I do think Jacksonville's just more dynamic at this point. The Steelers' defense is legit, but Jacksonville is dynamic enough. They seem to always be backed into a corner, but find a way to win. And they're still in line for that 1 seed that I predicted in the preseason, although Kansas City has a tough stretch coming up, even though they're the one right now in the AFC. So this will be a big win for Jacksonville and get them back on, or continue them on the track, I guess. And Pittsburgh, same record as the Buffalo Bills. Insane to think about.
Insane. They've played some good games, won some close ones.
In division, too.
Right. I'm taking Pittsburgh in this game.
Ooh, at home, there you go.
You're in the mix. You didn't think you'd be here, but you are, right? I think that builds some momentum. And Jacksonville, really, this game comes down to whoever can make a play, right? And with that Pittsburgh defense, I think they end up making the play on defense.
Yeah.
And Pittsburgh wins, right? This is a coin flip game. All right, Philadelphia Eagles at the Washington Commanders. Philly -7 at Washington for an NFC East matchup.
Yeah, Washington lost to the Giants, not looking great. I'm surprised the line is this close. Divisional matchup, they always play well. against each other, but give me Philly -7. I think they're just overall the better team, one of the best teams in the NFL, if not number one right now. So yeah, I got to take Philly -7.
Yeah, got to go Philly as well. And it's not so much about the Philadelphia offense because I think the Washington defense can compete with them. It's more the Philly defense dominating the Commanders offense, right? They're going to have a lot of answers. So give me the Eagles.
And
all right,
will Washington start trading players after this game? That's the question.
Well, new owner, that usually means new coach, new players, new GM, right? The whole thing,
Yeah.
new quarterback.
Trade it all away. Yeah.
We just see it over and over. All right, Houston Texans at the Carolina Panthers. Carolina looking to get their first win. Houston -3.5 at Carolina.
Yeah, this is another one where I was surprised that the line was this low. It started at -3, I think, when I bet it. But yeah, obviously you know where I'm going with this one, right? Houston Texans, another team that I have loved this year and said all year, even in the preseason, way back before the draft, even or after the draft, because they had CJ Stroud. I was talking to a guy at the cigar bar who listens to my picks, and I told him a team I'm going to be picking a lot this year is the Texans because I like what they have. I like CJ Stroud, and I think the lines are going to be favorable to them. And they have been this year. And here's another one. Carolina, although they are competent and score points on offense, their defense has been questionable. They have been giving things up, and they haven't found a win yet this year. I don't think they're going to do that against the Texans team coming off bye, feeling good about themselves. I'm taking the Texans -3.5. I expect them to win by 10 or more.
Yeah, I'm taking the Texans as well, but I think it's because of quarterback play, right? CJ Stroud thinks he should have went number 1. Now he's upset with the, it's just a reason to be upset.
Yeah,
right. It's a reason to be upset.
Bring it in.
And Bryce Young still doesn't put it together, but CJ Stroud certainly looks the part, plays the part. So I'll take the Texans in this one. All right, Cleveland Browns without Deshaun Watson at Seattle. The Seattle Seahawks. Cleveland +4 at Seattle. Some weird stuff going on with Deshaun Watson, but the Browns continue to win.
Yeah, they looked better than when they had Deshaun Watson. However, I obviously am a big fan of Seattle and what they're doing this year, and their offense. I've talked about it numerous times. Cleveland's defense is absolutely legit and can keep them in this game. So for that reason, this is another one that I'm staying away from putting money on, but I'm taking Seattle to win, and Seattle -4. I think they could win it by a touchdown. I wouldn't be surprised. But Cleveland could stay in it with that defense.
Yeah, and I think this is a big challenge for Cleveland because of the travel, and really the Seattle Seahawks are one of the most balanced teams in the league, right? They can run the ball all day. They have great receivers. Defense is playing good. So I think it's just a tough matchup for Cleveland with a backup quarterback. So I'm taking Seattle at home. All right, Kansas City travels to Denver. Kansas City -7 at Denver. Let's not forget about last year where Denver, was maybe 10 yards from field goal range, who could have, tied or won the game for Kansas City in Kansas City. So divisional matchup. What are the chances?
Slim to none, but hopeful, obviously, again, as Bills fans, we're like, come on, Denver. We're the meme of poking them with the stick saying, do stuff. Come on, do stuff. Do some stuff, Broncos. Do stuff in this game. Win yourself a game. Hey, players on the Broncos, newsflash. If you play well, you could end up on a good team, okay? So play well in this game, beat Kansas City, and get your ticket to a contender, all right? So move up your trade value and do something. But in reality, I'm not banking on that at all. Kansas City is going to pick apart that defense pretty well, as most teams have this year.
Right.
And Pat Mahomes is just too good. He could be throwing to you and I against this defense, and he would make it work. So, give me Kansas City -7, unfortunately.
And I feel like Sean Payton could dial up a good offensive game plan. Right. This is the one you have circled on your schedule. It's in Denver. It's at home. Let's show them who we are. But the Broncos defense is atrocious, right?
Yeah.
And I think Kansas City is just going to pick them apart. Maybe more entertaining than the game itself. Sierra versus Taylor Swift. Oof. That's going to be a good matchup.
Yeah. I give me Taylor Swift all day in that one, too.
All right. Cincinnati Bengals at the San Francisco 49ers. Cincinnati +3.5 at San Francisco. Cincinnati in a tough spot here. 3-3, last in the division currently. and now you got to play a really tough team. Sam Darnold looks like he's going to get the start here. This should be a fun one.
Yeah, I mean, interesting chain of events here. So obviously, the Bengals have been struggling on offense. San Francisco coming off a big loss last week. Both teams are motivated to win. Both teams are motivated to play their best. I had a tough time picking this one as well. And I think when I made my picks, I took San Francisco, but I'm switching because since then, Brock Purdy's out, Sam Darnold's in. I don't think that changes what they do on offense. Obviously, with San Francisco, it's more about Christian McCaffrey and running the ball. And I think Sam Darnold's perfectly competent of doing what he needs to do on the offense. But the Bengals, coming off a bye, have planned for this, right? And they were ready for this. So give me the Bengals plus 3.5. I think they end up finding a way to win. And I'm going to have to change my pick on Tally's site because, the chain of events that have happened since then. That means I'm picking against San Francisco 2 weeks in a row, which is tough. They're one very good team in the NFL.
Oh, you're right both times. I mean, that's San Francisco lost 2 in a row now. They got to snap the streak. I think they play a well-rounded game and they end up winning against Cincinnati and put Cincinnati at 3-4.
Ooh, that would be good, but yeah, we'll see how it works out.
All right, Sunday Night Football. The Bears at the Los Angeles Chargers. Chicago plus 8.5 at the Chargers. And rumors out there that the Chargers coach could lose his job if he loses this game.
I think he's already lost his job. I think he could win this game by 100 and he's still going to be fired at the end of the year because this Chargers team isn't going to do anything. So it's just a matter of when, not if. However, again, I ask Vegas, Eric, who won? Did the Bears get a W last week? Huh?
30
Justin
burger.
Fields not playing. Their offense started clicking. They look really good. They're getting their running backs healthy. They're finding a way with an undrafted quarterback or whatever you want to call him, a non-D1 quarterback. I don't know if he was drafted or not, but they won. They won. Okay. The Chargers, no matter how good their roster is, look pathetic week in and week out. Okay. Absolutely derailing the train there. Okay. Defense, offense, everything. You can't look good. You can't stay competitive. Everybody is to blame. Justin Herbert on down. Not good. Not good at all. Why is this line 8.5 points? Vegas, what are you thinking? Give me Chicago plus 8.5. I mean, all the momentum is in their favor. The Chargers have looked completely unmotivated. I have no reason to believe that's going to change. I believe the Chargers win the game, right? They're just too dang good to lose the game. But Chicago's going to stay in it, and it wouldn't surprise me if Chicago finds a way to win. And this line is at 8.5. That's insane to me. So give me Chicago with the points all day long. Chicago has found a way to stay competitive in games all year, except when Fields was hurt and all that. But now I feel like the momentum is the opposite for each of these teams. Chicago's going this way. Chargers are going down. I mean, it's unbelievable that the line is this high on this one.
Yeah, it does seem a little high. It should be closer. I agree there. However, I do think the Chargers are going to come out and play a good game, right? A lot of negative press. You're taking a beating. You have a full week to prepare for this quarterback who has no film, but now there's film out there, right? I think that matters a little bit. And I think the Chargers come out and they play a good game, and I think they win this one by 20.
The Chargers?
Yes.
Come on. What, are they going to have one good game this year, finally?
I
They
mean,
know their
they
coach's
don't do
ass
well.
is on the line. If they know their coach's ass is on the line, they might tank the game on purpose.
Yeah, it's also true. But the Chargers don't win games like they're supposed to be competitive in. The Kansas City's, the Dallases, right?
Yeah.
But games they're supposed to win, they normally come through. Justin Herbert's just got to play better, right? It's going to have to go through him, right? You got to step up and be that player. I think he gets it together, and I think they have a good game. All right, Monday Night Football. The Las Vegas Raiders at the Detroit Lions. Vegas plus 8.5 at Detroit. The Raiders, another one of those teams that just getting blown out all the time, right?
Yeah, they don't know where they're going, right? They don't know where they're going.
Yeah, there's no direction with the team. But Detroit, huge loss, embarrassing loss last week. You like to think they get it back together and win one.
Absolutely. You said exactly what I would think. I think that this is going to be a big game for Jared Goff and the offense to throw the ball and get things going against the Raiders. Raiders just have yet to put it together on offense consistently. Two of the best players in the NFL can't run the ball, can't throw it to Devontae Adams. I don't know what they're doing there. I think that they need to look themselves in the mirror and realize it's time to start trading away guys and not trying to stay competitive in a division and in a league that is, a conference that is super competitive, and you're not going to compete with the rest of the teams up there. So, I think the Lions come back and win this game handedly. I think the Raiders will score points, maybe 20 on the board. That wouldn't surprise me, even though they couldn't against Chicago last week. But the Lions are going to dominate and really, really light up the scoreboard. They're at home again. They want to show, hey, what happened against Baltimore was a fluke. Every team has that bad game. Now this is, again, who we are. Back to your regularly scheduled Lions are a good team in 2023 offense.
Yeah, and you said the Raiders are going to score points. They average 16 points a game.
That's so sad. Yeah. But the Lions are giving up a lot of points.
Well, and the Patriots are right there at 31st. So it's, this New England style of offense doesn't work anymore. I mean, the league's way more finesse on offense. It's way faster, and it's designed for receivers to succeed. And, neither team uses their receivers effectively. Devontae Adams should be having huge games week in, week out. You just don't see it. Maybe that's quarterback play, whatever it is. Josh McDaniels is supposed to be an offensive genius with all these Super Bowl rings. We just don't see it when he becomes a head coach, right? In Denver, they couldn't even score. They only threw the ball 9 times with Tim Tebow. I'll never forget it. So Josh McDaniels, a little bit to blame here.
Definitely.
I mean, had a great season with Josh Jacobs, but just haven't done anything this year. We'll call them. There's been some weeks where they have a little spark, but then it quickly fades out, right? There's no flame for them this year.
Trade your guys.
Yes.
Raiders. Trade your guys.
Yes, to the Bills, please.
And the trade deadline is Tuesday, right?
Tuesday.
So the 31st, yes, although our Bills are playing Thursday, the rest of the teams on Sunday are going to have a quick turnaround to say, oh, crap, what do we do now? Because, it's reality check time in the NFL. And if you're going to get something for those guys, you got to do it now, especially the ones who are going to be free agents. So I do expect a lot of movement to happen before that deadline, obviously. And hopefully our Bills are involved in that. Get us a linebacker, will you, please? Anybody?
Right.
Anybody
you got to think like this is the week too where you decide if you're a buyer or seller. Like teams like the Giants, the Broncos, if they lose, they're sellers instantly, right?
Yeah, but you don't have long turnaround. That's what I'm saying. You really have to do it before this game.
Well, I think
you can't say, if we win. Right. Now we lost. Who wants Saquon Barkley for $1? Fifth round pick? Anybody?
I think you have those deals dialed up. Hey, we might be interested in this.
Well, let's
handshake on it, and then we'll call you
approach.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe sometimes why it goes down to the wire, right? Some trades come out like after the deadline and stuff.
If we win, we won't. But if we don't,
right. Well, you always hope your team will win, and
that's what I mean. It's hard to believe that a GM would actually do that. I mean, you gotta have everything, ready to go and queued up, but to actually call another team and say, hey, if you lose this week, are you willing to give us Josh Jacobs?
Well, I mean, you see it all the time with head coaches. Hey, the rumor is if the coach doesn't win, he's going to get fired. And a lot of times that's true, right? It comes out that way. Okay, this coach didn't win the game, and he gets fired, right, mid-season.
And so the GM knows, okay, they're going to be selling the guys now. Yeah.
So that's what will be going on. Be sure to tune in with us on Tuesday. We'll give you the trade recap, our thoughts. If the Bills made any moves, we'll be sure to dial that up for you and discuss. No Bills football Sunday, so we'll continue to talk about the Buccaneers recap. Catch that Tuesday. I know it's a little bit later, but we'll be breaking that down and looking forward to the Cincinnati matchup next week. So you can check that out on Tuesday. Get the full breakdown with us on Thursday as we go through the Sunday preview for Week 9, and then this week, shortly after this show, look out for Anthony's Pick 6. The best 6 bets of the week for Anthony, and get a little money.
And I'm really excited about this week. Actually, this could be the week we go 6-0. I am super excited about my bets this week. As you heard a couple on the preview here of my picks, where you could probably tell which ones I'm already pretty excited about. I think it's going to be a good week for that. Good week for our Bills. Good week for seeing what the trade deadline is going to look like. It's Halloween weekend, right? So
Halloween night.
Everybody safe celebrations and all that. I love Halloween. It's my favorite holiday. So we're going to be out and about doing some stuff with the family. And so everybody stay safe and have fun and, enjoy the Halloween parties and all the festivities and leading right up to the trade deadline on Tuesday. And
you like Halloween so much, you already got your costume on.
Yeah. Bills, baby.
All All right. Enjoy the game, and we'll catch you next week.
Yeah. Go Bills. Thanks for kicking it with us.